I think now is a better time, and I have a better platform to do so.
Okay. But wait, you switched from talking about reptile supply to scaleless and palmettos.
No, I'm just saying that I will. What I said is I will produce scaleless and palmettos, but I'll be keeping a lot of those back and not selling them.
Okay. Okay.
So what I want is, something to offer out there that's not an animal. And plus, I don't want to always depend on selling live animals.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that puts you in a quandary, in a gray area that I don't want to be in.
So you want your brand and your business to be more than just snakes.
Right.
You want to help the breeder in other ways in their life, or not their life. But
I just think there's way too many cheap products out there, honestly.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's just not enough things that are focused more on the breeder and making it easier. It's mostly based off of cost efficiency, as far as people don't want to spend as much money to take care of their snakes. At the same time, it is companies wanting to make profit margin.
Mm-hmm.
So they're making a cheap product for cheap prices.
Would you say that most companies are making products for just the average pet keeper and not like breeder of snakes? Would you say most of them are?
A little bit of both. I think there's not a great solution for one person going into Petco and getting a snake. And you want to take off her collar?
Yeah.
And getting a snake and having a proper enclosure for it. I don't think there's many good products for that, especially for ball pythons, holding humidity, stuff like that. But that's not really where I'm going in the beginning of it. So I think on both fronts, things can be improved. And, it's hard because there is cost to consider. And
right, they can't make stuff that costs, so much that they're not making money from selling it.
No, and also, reptile breeders are much more focused on spending money on snakes rather than the supplies to do it. So, but it may be in their best interest to get something that lasts longer. So maybe higher quality that lasts longer, and also something that saves time. And I think I kind of, at least with the first product I'm going to do, as far as making a hide with something a little bit different and making it a more efficient piece of.
Your mom says still no sound. Try turning up the sound on my computer. I don't know if that will do anything, but we can try it, and hopefully people on YouTube.
This should be playing through the input through the mic, but what was I talking about?
Sorry, you were talking about your first product that you want to sell or create and sell for your brand. First product,
right?
Which is a hide that includes a.
Well, right now I'm working with a 3D printer to create the design, and have a system to where the hide is conjoined with a water bowl and will make your life easier, basically, and make a 2-in-1, a more efficient, more cost efficient, more time efficient product.
So having the water bowl by itself right now, what are some things that happen or that
when the water bowl's separate? I mean, the snakes are always knocking it over.
Okay.
And then also the snakes are always, what the hell was I talking about? And so they always knock the water bowl over.
Mm-hmm.
And then also you need to clean the water bowl separately than the hide. And it's just giving you more things to clean and more things to do. And then this will also allow for a deli cup to use, so that will be faster in that way.
Okay, so your hide water bowl combination would allow for someone to still use deli cups and put it in the water bowl.
Right.
Okay. And so what are the steps to that? You have to find someone to design or to a 3D printer. Is that how it works?
Someone needs to basically make a design which tells the 3D printer what to do.
Okay.
So someone is going to do, through a program, make a 3D print, and then the 3D printer reads that and then prints out something. And then also the 3D printers work with different kinds of plastic, so you got to pick a plastic that's going to be good for the usage. And obviously it has to be something that's durable and, you know, a little bit heavyweight, but also has zero texture and is easy to clean. And this one's also going to have, you know, I want it to have less ridges than the current ones that are available. So
current water bowls or current hides?
Both.
Okay, a lot of them have ridges on them.
Like just any little corner for stuff to get stuck in is a bad thing.
Yeah, and you think that's something that manufacturers or companies would think about when designing hides, that we don't want stuff to get stuck for the breeder, but for some reason that's on there. I also was wondering, is there direct correlation between the size of the hide and the size of the water bowl that you choose to use for your snakes? Babe.
What do you mean exactly?
Okay, so you're thinking about designing hides that are connected to water bowls.
Right.
Are you going to have, obviously you don't use the same, or do you use the same size hide for every snake? Let me ask that first.
Yeah.
No, okay, thought so.
Yeah, so it's going to have to be a design that can be scaled up and down in order to make
that's what I'm
different
saying.
Sizes for different stage of life, different species.
When deciding what water bowl size to do with the hide. So it's like, if a hide is double the size, do you double the water bowl when you're, that's what I mean. Is there a direct correlation between
it
the
depends
hide
on
size
species.
and the water
Some
bowl
you
size?
definitely want a water bowl big enough for the snake to coil up in.
Right. So when thinking about hide, water bowl 2 and 1, would you be thinking about size of snake? And I guess you'd have to also think about what type of snake it is, because you would need a certain size water bowl for a certain snake, depending on what their age is.
Right.
So you would have all different types of sizes of hide water bowl combinations.
Yeah. So, you know, something like sometimes with baby corn snakes, you want something that they can curl up in. And it also needs to take into account how big each tub is going to be. So then the length of the tub, as well as making sure that the water bowl doesn't end up right near the hot spot. So the hide's going to be on a hot spot, but
right, you can't have the water bowl in that.
But you can't have the water bowl on the hot spot all the time. The humidity will be way up there. So for some species that can't have it too warm, you definitely want something that is going to be able to, you know, separate the water from the heat enough to where it's not raising the humidity in the enclosure.
So you definitely have to have big variations in this product for the specific snakes.
Not big variations, just different sizes.
Well, that's what I mean. Like a variety of sizes and a little bit designs where the water bowl would be far enough away from the heat tape and everything like that.
Yeah, so I think I'm kind of in between two places as far as making something that's long enough the entire enclosure, which I think we should kind of do anyway, because we're giving them a thermal gradient and they always want to be in a hide box, but there's not a hide box at the cool end of the enclosure. So must be more incentive for the snake to stay at the hot end.
Because the hide box is there?
So maybe that's something to consider.
And so you would have it going across the width of the tub or the length of the tub?
Well, it depends on what tub you're working with, but the way I'm thinking about it now would be the length of it.
Okay.
Half the width, full length. Like that. And then the end will be a water bottle or water bowl rather.
So that the snake can be in the hide on the cool end and the hot end.
Right.
Just depending on what they want to do.
I
wonder if anyone's ever had two hides. I wonder if anyone's ever done that where they have one on the cool end and the hot end. I'm not sure if any breeders had two hides. I wonder if anyone's ever done that where they have one on the cool end and the hot end.
Yeah, I had to change the audio because the mixer was not working. So we're basically talking to microphones right now for no reason. We can hear ourselves, but
so I don't need this anymore.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Well, mixer's not working
again,
but for different reasons.
I'm gonna hang the headphones on the knife.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just freaking.
A little haphazard, but we're making it work.
Yeah, we really need to get it together in many different ways. I think maybe just something with the Google Hangout and the audition just doesn't work well together. Maybe we should try it on the computer next time. And I'll have my computer up or something like that too. Who knows? But because it was working fine before.
Mm-hmm.
But so I definitely want something that spans the whole enclosure. Something that's going to offer just some type of variability to suit whatever the need is.
Have you ever used 2 hides?
No.
In one tub?
No.
I would be interested to see if if the snake would transfer between both. If you had one at the cool end also. Obviously your product that would be lengthwise would make it better so that they wouldn't have a switch and they just have one. But we should try out putting one at the cool end and see if they go towards it.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is not ignoring all the temperatures in the middle as well.
Okay.
So, what if I put one of those egg crates in with the corn snakes and make it the full length? They'll probably utilize that whole full length within a certain time period. So I believe that they will be, at some points when it's a little hotter, ambient temperature, they may be more in the middle of the hide or something like that. So I think you would see them move around. Yeah, we definitely should. And I think maybe that's something we lack as far as keeping. You only give your animal really one option. And then, but some racks they don't even use, you don't even use a tub. I mean, if it's all enclosed, I guess that makes sense. If you're not using a tub and and then also like my carpet pythons will move around their hide to go where they want to go.
Because they're just big enough and strong enough to do that.
Yeah, and then I've seen ball pythons also do that.
Just like push.
So it's
push.
Maybe they just want. I don't know.
They want
maybe
the option
that
for different places.
Yeah.
It's also interesting that the snow corn snake likes to sit on top of the hide. And I don't know why. Do you know why she would like to do that?
I'm not really sure exactly. Corn snakes like to be high, as hatchlings and stuff. They're always running around the enclosure and stuff, trying to get up high, trying to climb on anything. I mean, they're semi-arboreal kind of, you could call it, as especially at younger ages.
But I guess if they like to be hot, they would want to be closest to the heat tape.
Right.
But getting on top of the hide doesn't.
But heat rises also, so I wonder what the temperature is up there. I don't know.
I feel like the closer you are to the heat source. Maybe a little bit cooler.
But yeah, that's kind of a weird preference. But yeah.
But they that one really likes.
And none of the others stay on top of that hide.
Just that. So maybe it's something to do with snow ones. I don't know.
I don't know. No, probably not. Just probably a weird, just coincidence that he likes to be there.
Being on top. I don't know.
Yeah.
Have you ever? No, it would be dumb to have a hide that's upside down connected to the rack itself.
Yeah, but you've done it. People have done it in enclosures, and it totally makes sense.
And they put a hide on top. Can you stop watching the fight that's on the TV? No. But tubs and racks are completely different than enclosures, obviously.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, so what after? So you have to get 3D printed. Then what would come next?
I don't know. What do I do after? I mean, then production, and then, I want to send them to some people for free. Just keep 30 of them to send to random people and see how they like them. And then kind of take it from there and use them myself. And I'll probably only be able to get one size done. Originally, so.
What would you aim that towards? What size or for what snakes would you want your first one to be good for? Babies, adults, what?
It would probably, what makes sense is to make it that's for something that's going to can be used for like adult ball pythons. That's what kind of makes sense. But
not at least for you. It doesn't help for you.
No, it doesn't help for me at all. But the fact is that I could use it better for just it will be more useful for more people. I can try it on some carpet pythons, but it's going to be the same.
Right, but to get it out to other people, the best thing is to do ball python, something that works for ball pythons. Just something that
is going to work for most people. That's going to be most people in general. So if I made it just for me, then I would be the ideal thing that I'm finding right now is definitely the egg crate thing, as far as giving them options to go climb all over things. Yeah, go over and under. So that works for now, but I mean, obviously it'd be nice if they're not pushing over the water bowl all the time now.
And having it connected.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great plan and something that would make it easier on breeders to not have to think about that. And cleaning wise, you're cleaning one unit rather than two separate things.
Right.
I think it'd definitely be easier. Do you feel that a lot of breeders also, like after doing it for a while, they jump into reptile supply things, or you feel like most of them just stick to snakes?
There's definitely some people. There's some people who are more, I want to say, like business savvy that kind of take it in all directions as far as, like Pangea, they do supplies online. They do gecko food. They, produce gecko food. And then they also sell animals. So they're doing everything. So it's really just as far as you want to take it, I guess. Yeah. So
the big companies like Reptile and like the ones that
it's not really that big of a company.
Okay, well that's just what I see the most sold at.
So what? Yeah. So, but I'm saying that's like that's like a pinhead. If you go to ZoomEd, that's who we're talking about.
So was like ZoomEd started by a breeder, or like I'm thinking the most of the companies that breeders use, were they started by breeders, or were they?
They're started by breeders and/or people who just kept reptiles.
Okay.
But I mean, something like ZoomEd has been in the works for like 40 years. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
ZoomEd is the most prominent.
Yeah, but it's an evolution over a bunch of time for sure. But
you use ZoomEd products?
Not most breeders, but most people who own snakes do. So that's like the disconnect between like ZoomEd, and then there's also companies that work just for breeders, but neither of them are doing that great for either.
Okay. Why doesn't ZoomEd appeal to breeders? Why does it appeal to just like reptile keepers, not breeders?
I think people see it as like anything in Petco, anything from a big box store is like not good enough. Okay. When the fact is that ZoomEd does have good products, and ZoomEd gives more back to the reptile community than almost any other company out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important to support them. They have good stuff, but they don't have good stuff that scales to the things that breeders need.
Really? Okay.
So the fact is, like, they sell reptile heat mats.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just, you can't use that as a big breeder. You can't use a bunch of heat mats. You need the heat tape.
Mm-hmm.
But also the heat tape's about to light your house on fire, so you don't fucking know what to do with that. So there's nothing that caters both great.
Mm-hmm.
I think ZoomEd does a good job on the pet side, but then again, I don't think their top priority is husbandry and new husband. Like, they've had a lot of the same products for a lot of time, and it's not catering to the new ways and new popular pets out there and the new ways of keeping.
Okay.
Things like
things change.
Things like using ceramic heat bulbs for ball pythons and stuff like that. That time has passed, I think.
Are they still selling those?
Yeah, but they're supposed to be used for you can use them for lizards and stuff, and UV lights are obviously for lizards. So all that stuff is useful. It just needs to be used correctly. So there needs to be, and it comes in like a, you can get like a ball python starter kit and it will have that shit in there. So I think we really need to have a like actual enclosure that keeps humidity and actual good, setup for that on that end. And then in the big breeder end, stop making, China toy factory thermostats and stop making heat tape that's about to light our house on fire. We got to figure out a way to improve these kinds of things.
So ZooMed is mostly caters to just people who are keeping them as pets. What's a big company that breeders go to? Or is that not? Like, is there equally sized company that breeders go to like ZooMed?
There's more niche places, but
okay, like you go to little ones for different things.
Yeah, so there's definitely, like, if you're talking to people who keep like natural vivariums, like there's different sites for those people.
Okay.
There's also like Reptile Basics. They make a lot of the supplies for thermostats, stuff like that. So they're going to be catering more towards people with just snakes and predominantly ball pythons, maybe corn snakes, and people who are keeping snakes in tubs, apparently, or mostly, people who are keeping snakes in tubs. And then Angie is supplying stuff for gecko people, Josh's frogs for frog people. So there's a lot of different ones.
Do you think it would be too hard
there are good ones
for one company to like do more than just little? Would that be too hard, or you think it's possible?
All I'm asking for is in that niche to give the best product that you can. As far as I don't think that that's currently happening, but also I understand the fact that reptile breeders are only going to spend so much money on supplies when they could be spending money on snakes. But if you have a product that's so valuable that they're willing to spend money because it saves them time and or their animals, then I think that's worth it. So find something.
It's weird to me that doesn't, if the companies were started by breeders, that when it comes, that doesn't already exist. Like breeders went through the same problems. People who run these companies went through the same problems that you're having, that any other breeder's having. So why? I don't understand like why builds to that. But I guess like you said, because breeders' main spending of money is on more snakes, and it's not on supply. They just want a supply that does something, a hide that you can put in there and different things like that.
And most big breeders don't even use hides.
Really? What
so that's definitely nothing.
Just nothing?
Yeah.
Interesting, because it's more just for the snakes.
Right.
Like it doesn't make them breed anymore.
That's another thing to get into, right? Like how much does a snake need and what do we give our animals? Is it enough? Is it
a hide isn't a need, it's a want. I guess you could say.
They sure use it, when it's in there.
When it's in there, they use it, but
there's most certainly some benefit to it, I would think.
That they're using it.
Right.
But it's not like a life or death. It doesn't add to the, does it make breeding happen better or smoother? It doesn't. Because with breeders, their main focus is to breed more. And so hides and things like that.
But should it be?
They're a breeder. They want to breed more.
Yeah, but shouldn't it also be, am I doing better than just keeping my animals alive and keeping them breeding? Is breeding the sign that your animal is healthy and good to go? That's the question.
What else would be the sign?
I know. There are no signs.
There's another sign. I think the fact that they continue to breed is a sign that they're healthy.
They're not dying.
They're not right. They're healthy, and you can't. They don't smile. Excuse me. They don't smile. Like you can't tell when they're happy or sad.
Right. But they also don't tell you when they're uncomfortable.
Right.
In a way, they do, but they don't tell you, "Hey, I'm more comfortable doing this." So I don't know.
They're not like, "Hey, I would like a hide right now."
Right.
And so it's kind of up to the breeder and what their priority is. And the breeders, for the most part, I think their priority is keep them alive to breed more.
Yeah.
Because that's when you cross the line between just keeping a pet and it's your job. Saying people who make it their job have any loss of like heart about the snakes or love about it, but they also have to think about that.
You need to pay bills every month.
Right. And so like you're keeping them alive, you're breeding them, like their main focus is to breed them more.
Yeah.
And so how much are they going to spend on how much would a snake breeder spend on extra things that may or may not make the snake happier, so to speak? Like snake breeders dedicate to keeping the snake happy.
Right, and what's happy?
Right, that's the thing. We don't know. That's why I'm putting it in air quotes, because we don't know what happy is.
Yeah.
And so that's the hard part. Like, are people going to spend money on that?
Yeah.
If I'm just trying to, I don't know if I would do that on extra things. Is there any other thing other than hides that like you could buy that don't like lead to any direct benefits, but the snake would use it? Is there anything else?
What do you mean?
So like the hides, like they don't make breeding any better, like they don't they don't lead to any benefits like that, but snakes use it and we can tell they like it. Is there any other or something else that you just hides?
No, I mean, and then it's obviously just manipulating the environment, so keeping it warm and then different humidities.
But like the warmness and humidities is for keeping it alive. That's not for happiness. That's for keeping it alive. The choosing the right temperature and the right humidity.
Right.
That's not for happiness. That's for keeping it alive.
Yeah. Hopefully they're happy to be alive.
Well, yeah. But they also, I'm just thinking, what else is there that is just for keeping them happy? I think hides are just the only thing like that.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only. I mean, I'm sure you could do 1,000 different things. So as far as can they bury themselves in their substrate? Do you have a tree in there for them to climb? I don't know.
Right.
Or even UV lights, is that a benefit to snakes? Because the fact is, in the wild, you may see a snake basking out on a rock. So is that just for warmth, or do they need that UV light on them, those rays?
Don't a lot of like just snake pet owners use UV lights? Or like
mostly lizards, so mostly geckos.
Okay. The people I know who just have like one snake, they have like the big red light.
Like geckos or iguanas.
The big red light in the tank. Is that really any helpful, or does that lead to anything
for snakes? That's what I was talking about. Those are the lights that you pretty much shouldn't sell to people anymore.
Oh, okay.
Just use a heat mat. But the only problem is also you need a heat mat with a thermostat. So who's going to buy a thermostat and a heat mat?
I feel like that gets
and a tank and this and
above
that
the just regular pet owner.
You're already paying $50 for a normal ball python.
That goes higher.
Or if you're at a show, you're spending $20 for a normal ball python. Then it's like, I don't want to do anything for this thing. It was supposed to be cheap, and now it's getting really expensive. So that's the way people view it. Unfortunately, I don't think those people are generally going to be great pet owners anyway, but the fact is that they need a better option to keep their animals at least at a baseline decency.
But do you think they're told like, oh, get this light?
No, yeah, they're told by the Petco people.
Yeah, they're like, get this light, put it on top.
But they don't, they only know what they can know also. They're only trained so much, or, they're not all reptile people or anything like that.
So you can't fault them for telling people to do this and they're still, it's in the source. So they're like, oh, whoever's doing inventory provides this light, so it must be what you should use. Like it's in their stores, so why not try to sell it? But it's just interesting that Zoom.
Well, no, because it's put out there as the starter kit to a ball python.
It's interesting that ZoomEd doesn't take it upon themselves to change what they're selling, to change the starter kit, so to speak.
I think once you get that big and you have a company, that's turning and burning and, multi-million-dollar company, I think it's hard to get back down to, the ground level. So they're doing their own thing. I'm sure they don't realize that husbandry has taken a different turn, and then maybe they're not sure how to improving the products in order to keep up with, the modern husbandry practices.
And I don't know, it's hard. Can you fault them either when they
can only put in so much time in so many different places to make a perfect product. They need to make products that, across all boundaries. So, they can't be making products for everyone, or else they're making products for no one, and you can't make a product for one person and not for everyone. So they kind of have to be in a weird middle ground.
To make it for everyone, you have to lower.
You have to make trade-offs. So I think that's why there are so many niche.
So that they don't have to make those trade-offs.
Right.
So that they can, make a better product. If it's only going to a certain amount of people, they could still make a better product for those small amount of people.
Yeah. But then I don't know. I guess it's a hard game to play because you want to make a product that reaches as many people as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to give up any ground on
I think
how good it is.
The best way. Oh, you said, anyone have any tips on how to find a corn snake that escaped its shelter? It's been a day and can't seem to find him.
So especially corn snakes, if it's young,
sneaky.
Yeah, they get out really quick. So definitely check if you have any heat tape or anything. Make sure that your room's closed off if you can. And if there's any heat tape, check under each tub and around the heat tape. And then after that, go to up everything. If it's in a bedroom, or if you think it could be outside, I mean, they like being under the refrigerator. That's going to be a warm spot. Just under anything in the room that they were in. And then baby corn snakes usually climb up. So when they escape, you may find them higher than they are. They may be going through windowsills, stuff like that. Those areas. You can leave. I've never really had success with this because I've always had so many hot spots in the room itself because it's always gotten loose in a snake room. So they just go to a different hot spot. But people have set up, like mini hot spots on the floor. Them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. On the floor in the room. So that hopefully you wake up and the snake is hanging out in the hot spot. So yeah, there's a few different things to do.
Check hot places in your apartment or home.
Any look small up high, spaces that
small space they can climb into. And if that doesn't work, set a trap, so to speak.
Yeah.
To attract them to place.
Right.
How many snakes have you had escape?
If you keep snakes, all the escape
at some point.
Yeah. So
it's your mom.
My mom said her TV's hung on the wall and they found an escaped snake on the TV.
TVs are hot.
Yeah, so behind the TV is going to be a hot spot.
But
then she just stuck underneath the heat tape.
Because that's the hottest place, most likely.
Yeah, so I mean, really, it's just hot spots.
Okay. Any big snakes escape or all little ones?
No, all little ones, and all either my fault or the tub, just the space was too big in between. Mm-hmm. Yeah. A lot. And doing things like putting tops on tubs, putting paper clips that like tubs that don't totally clamp down on all four sides.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to be careful because if you don't have strong clips on the other sides that aren't clipped down, then the snake can get out of there. You may think he's not going to, but it will eventually. It's just, yeah.
Which is interesting because you think you are making a tub with a very directed heat source. So why would they want
you think they would be
why would they want to escape when you have heat coming right under their tub? I don't understand that.
Right.
Is it just because they don't like enclosed spaces? But then I think they do like enclosed spaces because when they escape, another small type space.
Right. Or maybe they want, during the night they're going to move. So you may see them all hiding in their hide all day, but when you go to sleep, they're all moving around their tubs.
Why?
Or especially the corn snakes, they'll move around because they're much more mobile as far as like hunting goes. So, I mean, they did studies with telemetry on eastern indigos, which is an endangered species throughout like Georgia, the longleaf pine forest, which they're mostly prevalent, I believe, in like northern Florida and throughout Georgia. And telemetry, and they found that they traveled up to a mile each breeding season.
What? Just like back and forth?
Yeah.
That's
between
crazy.
hunting and finding mates and stuff like that, they covered over a mile. So I think snakes move around a lot more than we think that they do.
But even when they're they don't have to hunt, like when they're not in the wild, they don't have to hunt, and they still naturally.
They have no idea that they're not in the wild. Either way, they're still going to be opportunistic feeders. So they're never really going to. Most snakes, won't really turn down a meal because they don't know when the next meal is coming.
Okay.
But if you own ball pythons, you're like, my snake never eats. But it's snakes are opportunity eaters. So whenever they see a meal that they like, they'll eat. So essentially, snakes probably move around more than we think that they do.
We just don't hear it.
And that's also certain species. So it's species dependent for sure.
And so the more they move around, the greater the chances that they could escape and get out. What would you say?
The more they what?
The greater the chance that they could escape and get out.
What?
The more they move around.
You can't escape by not moving.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Because you said it depends on the species. And
right, yeah. So ball pythons are definitely more sedentary, but they will still get out if they want to. So yeah, they won't go very far. They're much easier to find than a corn snake. A corn snake will cover a lot of ground in a day.
Mm-hmm. And a ball python won't move that far.
Yeah.
Interesting.
They're definitely, ball pythons are definitely like right on the heat tape every time they get out.
I was about to say, they're always trying to move towards heat.
You never lose them for real. They don't go very far. Corn snakes though,
they
will vanish.
Off and gone.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. How many snakes would you say you've had escape?
Wow.
Like over 20?
In Colorado, I didn't put the side on the side on my rack on correctly. So there was like the side bars, I just didn't put on there so the tub could slide out, kind of like how it is now. Mm-hmm. It could slide out to the side and then leave a crack for a snake to get out. So like my first day in Colorado, I put all the snakes back, everything. I didn't put on the sides yet. I was going to do that the next day. And then like I woke up to pee in the middle of the night, and then there was a water python in Dixie's water bowl. So, and the water python isn't like the best snake to have in the water bowl, but I was really happy for it being in her bowl, which was only like
an easy place to find her.
Yeah, it was like 12 feet away from the enclosure, and she was pretty small at the time, so I felt like I was never going to find her if I didn't get her out. So
do they like hang out in water a lot typically?
They are water pythons, but in captivity it's kind of hard. Maybe they should be in water a lot more. Just like people keep anacondas very terrestrial in captivity. So even though they may have a big water bowl, they'll have an enclosure that's going to be like a regular snake. It's going to be, newspaper, a bowl. So even though anacondas, if you go to the zoo and you see them in a big enclosure with water, or you see them in the wild, so many times they're in the water. Very often they're in the water. So I wonder.
So why
we get away with having them as terrestrial species
Why don't they
here?
Provide more water for them in there?
I just think it's not reasonable for sure. It's not reasonable, but then should that be an animal that you keep? I don't know. I never kept anacondas.
I mean, if they're able to keep them alive.
Back to the fundamental question, right?
Is it more than keeping them alive?
Right. So So that being like maybe the water python, I should have water.
What kind of water bowl do you have in your water python?
Just a regular size ceramic.
Like this?
Yeah.
Oh, so you should try going bigger. See if she would benefit.
If I did that, I would have to make something. I'd have to make an enclosure with part terrestrial, part water. It would have to be a whole process if I was to do that, right?
Because even though she's a water python, you would still want to have that terrestrial part.
Right.
Okay. But
Evan was asking you if you're making dinner.
Friday night. I thought it was on the 29th. Is that Friday?
No, I don't think so. We need explanation.
Yeah, Evan, we need more details. I don't know what you're talking about.
Bone Daddies in Arlington.
Oh, is that pre-carpet fest?
Oh, I thought you meant making dinner.
No,
like,
he meant like making
like making a meal.
Yeah, no, he means are we going to dinner on Friday? Is this a pre-carpet fest celebration? Also, I want to add pre-carpet fest activities. I'm down. Bone Daddies is a restaurant, isn't it?
So what a restaurant is here in Dallas. There's a lot of restaurants to where
breasts are out.
There's
basically that's why they're called restaurants.
Yeah, or butts like tight ends.
But
there's a lot of them in Dallas in comparison to the rest of the world. Seen. I'd say this is pound for pound the biggest restaurant capital of the world.
Evan says not really.
Then you've been to some really savage places.
I haven't. Or he may be saying Bone Daddies isn't really a restaurant. I don't know what he's saying not really too. But like I feel like most places Hooters is like the one go-to.
Yeah, and that's normal.
And you have but Dallas
or like
has
Tilted
like
Killed.
Seeing hoping and getting a Brazilian Rainbow Boa.
It's not Twin Peaks.
Okay, so Bone Daddies is not a full-on restaurant.
Is Bone Daddy sounds like
it sounds like it, but maybe it's not.
Maybe it's not. Okay, I don't know. I've never been there.
What are your thoughts on Brazilian Rainbow Boas?
Brazilian Rainbow Boas are cool.
Okay, don't they breed at a different time than other ones?
Yes, good observation.
So Brazilian Rainbow Boas breed
are spring breeders.
I was gonna say that.
Okay.
Let me impart the one bit of knowledge that I know about snakes. That's all I had.
Just because you heard it today.
Shut up. That's all I had to say is that Brazilian Rainbow Boas breed in the spring. Is there any benefit to that, or it's just something different? Like
no, but with Brazilian Rainbow Boas, the thing you need to make sure is that you're keeping humidity up. That's pretty much it. They just like higher humidity.
How do you go about?
Because they're in the rainforest of Brazil.
How do you increase humidity to the height or to the level?
I would say if I was to keep a Brazilian Rainbow Boa, I'd probably keep it on Reptile chip. Keep it, on a little bit moist, kind of like how I keep the Solomon Island ground boa.
Some spray action.
Yeah. So just keep it a little bit moist in there, just so they don't dry out.
Okay. I wonder if this person's looking to breed, or they just want to keep it as a pet, because then the whole spring breeding doesn't even matter.
Yeah, it seems like maybe being like one of their first snakes.
Okay. What are your thoughts on that as a first snake? Do you think they're pretty easy?
No, I wouldn't say hard. Not probably the best first snake. Just like ball python's not going to be the best first snake, just because of my own reasons.
So that's your own personal reason.
Right. Yeah. So is because the fact is that if the one person is already looking, if someone knows what a Brazilian Rainbow Boa is, they're probably putting in a little research. They know more than the average. Getting on top of the husbandry of it. So if you just have a Brazilian Rainbow Boa, it's a lot easier to take care of. Just one snake with more strict husbandry. So
wait, sorry, Evan. Okay, Evan, we want to go. It went away. But yes, are you down for dinner on Friday?
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone want to go.
So,
but the person said, "What's the best first snake?"
The best first snake, and I guess it depends what country. And if you're in the United States, it's gonna be a corn snake for sure. Or That's just being a mindless husbandry thing. If you want to put the effort in, like anything's a good first pet snake. You just have to do the due diligence. If you're listening to us in the first place, that means that you're doing more due diligence than the average person. Most people. Most people are just showing up to the pet store or wherever the hell, getting their snake and just doing it on the fly. So the fact that you're just looking into anything in the beginning is a sign that you're responsible enough to take care of Brazilian Rainbow Boa. Or like what Evan said, get carpets.
Evan likes carpets.
They are mindless as far as humidity goes. I've seen them survive at room temperature for many, many years. Don't do that. But the fact is that
if it happens,
their requirements are, people underplay it. They're kind of like corn snakes of Australia, of the python world, as far as you won't have many problems with them at all.
That's why I think the best thing for looking for your first pet is what you don't have to put in a lot of effort in. But if this is a person who wants to put in a lot of effort, go
right, because putting in a lot of effort for someone who has one snake than someone who has 100. So maybe I don't have 100 elephant trunk snakes because they have to be in the water 100% of the time. That doesn't sound very good to have when I have other snakes with different husbandry. So it really depends. If I had one snake, it may be a tentacle snake or something weird that needs very particular stuff. But as someone,
you're okay with putting the effort for that particular stuff. So I think
right now, when you have many snakes, you're spreading your effort.
Right, but I think a Rainbow Boa isn't that hard as far on the level. But if you're thinking about any others, a corn snake or, like Evan said, a carpet, as far as like they can handle a lot of stuff.
Right, because as a beginner, you're going to fuck up. Even as someone who's been doing it forever, you're going to fuck up. So the things that are going to, especially in the beginning, to not get, what would you call that? Not to lose motivation in keeping, not to get discouraged in keeping reptiles. You definitely want something that's going to your beginner mistakes and some things that go wrong while you're figuring stuff out.
Don't get a light thing that you said.
Don't get a red incandescent.
Don't get a red light. No matter what Petco or anything tells you, don't get a bright red light for your snake.
Yeah, just ask someone knowledgeable who may breed Brazilian Rainbow Boas or keeps Brazilian Rainbow Boas, if that's the way you want to go, or if you want to keep corn snakes, someone who keeps corn snakes, something like that. That's pretty much it.
The best way is to just ask someone who's
ask the actual source. And you'll know people who are more willing to talk than others as far as that goes. Don't be discouraged if one person doesn't message you back. It may take forever or they may have so many messages it takes forever to get through them, or they don't answer all their messages. So just, you can ask like a bunch of people. And
yeah, for anyone who's watching, probably mainly Evan, we were talking earlier about anacondas and how in the wild they are frequently surrounded by water. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, and many times you find them in the water.
So then do you think breeders should keep anacondas in more water centers?
Because we keep them pretty much 100% terrestrial. We keep them on newspaper with water bowls.
So do you think we should match more and are keeping how they are in the wild? Because you do for the most part keep stuff like it is in the wild, but we were just talking specifically about anacondas. Should you match your tank or whatever more to what? Mm-hmm. Is there any other one you can think of that we don't match it to the wild as much as you think, or as much as it is?
I mean, yeah, everything, because everything, there's little things that exist in the wild. As far as carpets, half the time you find those, they're in trees or at least coming up.
And we give them no sort of, you can't put a huge tree.
They're all over the place. The fact is, same with corn snakes. They're all over the place as far as, you find like things like Texas rat snakes, all rat snakes, you'll find them up in the bark of trees and stuff like that. How do you provide that?
There's no way to give that.
Right. So what's the cutoff? What can you do? What's the best you get? I don't know.
What's one that can be done that isn't being done? obviously bark you can't do, putting in any sort of tree you can't do. What's something that a snake has in the wild that we're not giving them in our enclosures?
A varied diet for sure.
Okay. Right, because they can't be that picky in the wild. They have to get what they can get, right?
Right. So often, I mean, you can imagine probably baby corn snakes are probably eating. How often are you going to find a newborn pinky mouse in the wild?
That's going to be a special.
No. They're feeding mostly on anoles. They're feeding mostly on little toads.
On what?
Probably even.
What's the first thing you said?
Anoles. Give me a sec. So probably even many insects. There's definitely, they found green tree pythons, babies eating larger insects. So that's definitely a possibility. So how could you provide all that stuff?
Someone just asked, what are we talking about? Just right now we're talking about how to match more what snakes get in the wild to how we're keeping them. Obviously there's some things that you can't do, like bark and big trees. Like you can't do that in your enclosure. But what more can a snake breeder do to have their enclosure match what a snake is getting out in the wild? So we're specifically talking about right now a varied diet. So you said they found green trees that eat insects?
Right. So they'll almost eat anything. I mean, they have to, so.
To survive.
And especially a snake so small, what are your options that you can swallow whole?
Mm-hmm.
And the fact is that we're feeding these things, at least once a week. So they must be finding prey at a reasonable rate to.
Do you think they're finding prey once a week? Or
yeah,
more?
Like how often, if they're sitting there waiting for a mouse to go right by their nose,
are they even finding
how much
prey?
are they really eating? Or maybe they're doing something else, maybe just.
And is it just too hard for breeders to have give such a varied diet as far as money and keeping it? It's money is the main, but like insects don't cost that much.
Right. I mean, that's but that's also a far out idea as far as it's a far out idea as far as what insects are from where. How do you even give them insects? How do you do anything?
Oh, sorry if English is that what you're saying? Listening in English is hard. Sorry.
I wish we had a real-time translator.
Yeah, if only we could. If Instagram translated it to you. And translated to you.
Right.
I mean, that's very far. Korean. Wow, yeah, can't help you.
I can't even say anything.
I can't say hello in Korean. So I am sorry.
But you do have cool rat snakes that you can play with in Korea.
They have a lot of rat snakes?
As far as, Asia in general has a lot of really cool colubrid species.
Okay. Do you keep any rat snakes?
Oh. Uh-oh. Is that maybe how you say hello?
I don't know. They lost me.
Try.
But we only have a minute left, so that's how you say hello.
That's how you say hello. I don't even want to try. It'll be too embarrassing.
Also sound awful. You have any beox? Is that what you're trying to say?
Ball
pythons. Are there a lot of ball pythons in Asia?
I guess they're infected as well. I know that people ship over to Japan. I didn't know it was a big thing in Korea. Okay. I'm sure everywhere. I mean, the world is a much smaller place now.
What about rat snakes?
But I mean, probably just like there. I mean, ball pythons take over as far as something that is very
widely public,
attractive for financial reasons as well as so many options. So,
right, people like it.
So worldwide, I mean, they're the.
You think ball pythons are just the top everywhere?
Yeah, I mean, and the U.S. market pretty much determines many of the other markets. As far as in the Asian countries, the rat snakes are sold for food. That's how we get a lot of the rat snakes into the hobby, because in China they were going and picking up rat snakes and shipping them over in all types of conditions. Yeah,
we keep them, don't eat them.
So they were like, oh, they'll sell them to us for like $1. We can import them to the United States and sell them for like $200 because people want to keep them, which is ridiculous. But
to them, it's ridiculous because they're like, we eat them.
They're like, kind of like these are garbage.
Oh, okay.
Or like meant to be eaten. There's
not meant to be kept.
Right. So.
Very interesting. Just such a different view on the snakes completely. So, but why is the U.S. the one that sets the market for other countries? Just simply because of because other countries eat them, or?
No, just because we have the most snake breeders. We have the biggest economy.
I would think Australia has a lot.
They don't because of how strict their laws are. So they need all types of licenses just to keep animals and certain types of animals. So there's a higher threshold to get animals, and then also like different interstate trade, even within Australia. Obviously, you can't ship anything in. If you think about it, Australia has as many people as about the state of California.
Okay, so you're right.
Actually, I think it's LA, like the LA metro area.
Is the whole continent.
The whole continent of Australia, which is about, a little bit bigger than the United States, I think.
That's insane.
So all those people, that little people on all that land, the economy is not very big as far as size, and also it's a closed economy.
Because they can't import and export to anyone.
Right. So it's not, as far as they are very snake-centric, as Australia as a nation in general is very snake-centric and very into keeping wildlife. It also makes it hard for captive keepers.
Seems very hypocritical. Like, oh, we're really into this. We're going to push the awesomeness of the animals, but we're going to make it hard for you to keep them.
Yeah, because what matters for them is conservation in nature, which makes sense. So
okay, I guess
I don't disagree with it, but
as far as captivity, it makes it a little bit harder. But you don't want it to be super easy and affect nature and affect everything going on there.
Right.
Interesting.
So that's why, and then things like in the UK, it's very big, but just the amount of room that they have is very different. The lifestyle and stuff. Everyone is living in apartments. Everyone's dealing with a size crunch. It's just not the same as living here. We tend to have a lot of space for a bunch cheaper than what they have. And then the other one, Germany is a very big one.
Really?
Yeah, but
why?
I have no idea.
Random.
Honestly. But that's where, like we said before, that's where the Australian portal is. So a lot of it, like Sweden, Germany, a lot of those countries have some really big breeders and a really good market. But the U.S. is just much bigger, and we even have like culture
within it. Wait, I want to pause you. I'm sorry. It says we have 4 viewers on YouTube, and if you're watching on YouTube, it'd be awesome if you could comment to make sure I want to make sure they can hear it. Since someone commented earlier and said they can't hear on YouTube. So if you are watching on YouTube, let us know in the chat if you can figure out how to get there. And if you can't
hear us, why are you watching us, you weirdos?
I don't know. Maybe they're really good at reading lips. I don't know. But yeah, if you can figure out how to comment on the YouTube thing. Okay, back to what we were talking about. So, shoot, I lost it. So we're talking about how the U.S. dictates the rest of the market.
Right.
So as far as palmettos.
Even Canada.
Palmettos are coming, slowly becoming the big thing in the U.S. Is it not going to be till it's super big in the U.S. that it will hit the other countries?
No.
Okay.
You could send it over to Japan. But it's not going to get over there. But then again, the demand is going to be so much higher for those kind of places. But there's also a big problem with getting proper paperwork and getting things. So there's a big barrier there.
Okay. But so as the desire and excitement for palmettos is rising here, it's not rising in the other countries currently, or you don't know?
No, it is. But maybe everyone's looking to be the first somewhere for everything. So we're going to feed our own breeders probably first, just because it's much easier than
worrying about anything outside.
In order for someone to ship to China, they're going to want, they could sell it here for $50,000. Why would they want to take the extra trouble? They would have to sell it for even more than that to get it over there.
Shipping in.
Right. And then maybe their market doesn't have many people willing to spend $50,000, but the United States, since it's a bigger market, has those people that are willing to spend that money. So I think it's more sensible, much easier to get it started to get it started. I guess that means he hears.
He said hello, so maybe.
And we see you this time. We didn't fuck it up. We actually are looking at the comments
on YouTube.
So, what the hell was I saying?
You're talking about.
Oh yeah, so there's more people willing to spend more money here. So
it's just smarter to stay within the United States as far as like new and up and coming species or more.
And then it took so long. It takes one person though, to put in the effort to become that guy somewhere else. As far as
you should be the China palmetto guy.
Yeah, and then also if you're Mark Mandic in Canada, there used to be almost no. There used to be not many morphs of ball pythons. They were like 5 years behind on all ball pythons.
In Canada?
Morphs. Yeah.
It's like right there.
Yeah, though. But it's not easy to import even from Canada.
Do they have strict import laws in Canada? Oh, okay.
Strict enough to where you still need paperwork to get them in between. So you're having to do I believe it's CITES paperwork and dealing with a broker to get them out of the country. So there's a high level of work that needs to be done to get them there. So Mark Mandic took the time to do the work, import all the snakes. Now he is on the same level as U.S. breeders, but in Canada. And since he's in Canada, he's fucking slays it.
But he just had to put in a lot more
effort. But now he's the guy, So I guess you could do that anywhere.
Become the guy.
But I think it's a little bit easier in ball pythons because there's a lot more genes to work with as far as you're doing corn snakes. Unless it's really hard to get them in and there's none at all, I mean, you really want anyone could get the palmetto and the scaleless and be on the same page, right? Mm-hmm. The ball pythons is combinations of
a whole bunch of different things.
Genes.
Right.
There's so many
you know what
things.
You're putting into it to get it out.
Right.
So can we become like the Egypt guy?
Yeah, if you want to, we're the Brazil guys already.
Okay. Marcus says, my brother just picked up a ball python pair and the guy said they were breeding already and looking. He has kept them together the whole time. And locking, excuse me. He has kept them together the whole time he's had them. My question is, can I put another one? Or
you should probably not have them together in the first place as far as...
Can they kill each other in there? Or will they kill each other?
No, I wouldn't say that they're going to kill each other at this point, but it's definitely coming to a point where you're going to have them fighting over the hot spot. And then certainly if you have a pair that's locking, I mean, you need your female to get heat on her eggs and on her follicles that are developing. So you want all that to go smoothly, and heat allows that process to happen. So you definitely want them both to have adequate heating, and most of the time you'll have one that takes over the whole heat spot and then the other can't get heat, and so they're being kept at a constant cooler temperature, and then they may get sick. And then if a female, if she doesn't get proper heat and the follicles don't grow correctly, you start getting slugs. And then also you may even have some issues definitely with fertility, as far as the eggs are going to be fertile. Mm-hmm. And then also with maybe even getting, what would you call it? Eggs that egg bound.
Just don't make it past that.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and then you may have to send in your female for surgery to get the egg out, or hopefully you can get it out. But
so it's just going to add to possible.
Right, you're just putting stress on the snake that doesn't need to happen. So definitely I would put one ball python to each enclosure. When they breed, just put them together for maybe 24 hours to 48 hours, and then take them out and then reintroduce them again, a week later, and then just keep on doing that. Otherwise, it's not the best to keep them together.
Got it. What species will kill each other if they're together?
King snakes will kill each other if they're together, as far as they are mostly snake eaters in the wild.
Really?
Yeah.
But you don't feed king snakes other snakes?
But I surely could. But they'll pretty much eat anything. But
so then why in the wild are they mostly snake eaters if they'll eat anything?
Well, they're probably hiding under things where other snakes happen to be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they'll eat anything, but yeah. So they will definitely eat each other. Even when you're breeding, you got to keep an eye on them. They may eat each other or wrap each other together. Or olive pythons, they've eaten each other before.
No snake loyalty.
Like blackhead pythons. Different things that eat snakes in the wild. You definitely don't want to keep those together.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't want to keep any snakes together unless you have a super big enclosure with multiple hotspots, multiple hides, multiple places for everyone to feel like they have their own part of the enclosure.
Because they want the heat, and so they got to feel like they can get to it.
Right. Like when we went to DFW Reptarium, they keep a pair of emeralds together, but how big is that enclosure?
Mm-hmm.
That enclosure is like 10 feet tall and like 5 feet wide,
Right,
so and it's offering multiple hotspots, multiple elevation changes, multiple places to hide, things like that. So if you're a zoo or a person who has a lot of space, you can work that out. But for the most part,
at the Reptarium, they also kept. What are the two that we played with? Do you remember? They kept those in the same enclosure. We played with them. I don't remember what they were.
They do keep most of them separate, but they did have those extreme oketees together. Course snakes obviously are very hardy, and there's not much that you can do to
hurt them.
They have definitely eaten each other before. Pretty rare that it happens. Same with ball pythons. Eaten each other before, very rare, but it's a risk. But for a pet store,
they can't have all the individual.
They have a lot of enclosures now. They do a really good job with it, but I think sometimes you have to do that.
You have to just do it.
That's the least of the bad things you can do is put two corn snakes together, I think. So yeah, that's why they're not together forever, just for.
Also, you have to think like pet stores are selling them, so
hopefully they're turned over pretty fast. They're not like that forever. So
like a pet owner would keep them more, together for longer. Right. Interesting. What do you? Well, no, I was about to ask a question. I already know the answer to.
What?
Let's say, what's the most sold thing at DFW Reptarium? I'm sure it's ball pythons.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
I know the answer to that question.
And I wonder why that is such a. I mean, there obviously must be the best looking snake and best.
Are reptariums a thing all over the country, or even all over the world? Are reptariums? Do they exist?
It's a word I think solely made up for different roadside zoos or pet stores. Okay. I don't think it's.
So it's combination.
It's not an actual thing, but there's serpentariums, reptariums. There's.
Okay, but they exist.
Whatever you want to say, right? Tariums. Oh, I have no idea.
Okay.
I've never heard of another one.
Really? Because you'd think it'd be something, because to me.
It's just a name, though.
Okay. Well, I guess when I went into the DFW Reptarium, it felt like a step above Petco. It wasn't Petco.
It's way above Petco.
It's above that. And so
it's made specifically for reptiles and then kind of showing proper husbandry at the same time. So it's not doing the regular pet store, putting, 50 whatevers in a tank with nothing in it. And
so are places like that, I'm saying, do those exist a lot across the country?
No.
Places that are above?
Those are pretty rare as far as there's probably ones that do it right. There may be a handful, maybe 10.
Really? I feel like that would be such a...
It's not very profitable, though, because, you're spending so much money on display cages and stuff. And if you're keeping a wide array of species like they are, they're making a lot of specializations for different animals. So, I mean, there's just a high cost involved with that. And that's why people don't want to do it.
If you're the only one in the area, a lot of people are coming to buy from you. That would offset that cost, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but how much easier is it to buy 100 ball pythons, breed them together, and sell them online?
Just ball pythons online, than having a store and having to pay for all that.
And having to pay for rent and all that.
I guess it also, in my eyes, it helps educate people who, there was people all in there who weren't. They were just, regular people.
No, just people coming through because they were interested. So it's an opportunity to educate people pretty much. And I think they do a good job of that as far as showing them how to keep and showing them cool animals and different animals and not just ball pythons. I think things like shows, they kind of lose a lot of, I don't know, just something as not credibility, but like just loses that feeling to where back in the day you'd go to a show and you'd find something that you may not have known existed before, or you're like, holy shit, what's that at first, or I've never seen one that looks like that. And just different species and different things that you didn't know existed. Part of that's the internet. Part of that is now it's all the shows are mostly ball pythons because that's what mostly people want.
So you feel like
still have to cater to what people want.
You feel like you're going and for the most part what's going to be there when you go to shows now?
Yeah, and people get excited at different ball python morphs, but I think to me, I'm just a different species, but I'd like to see the different species. But that's just me. Everyone else gets excited by different morphs that they've never seen before. I mean, but if you're looking at some of these smaller shows, they don't have many world's first. They don't have many. I think a big problem with the smaller breeders is they haven't differentiated themselves at all yet. They haven't had that project. Those things, they haven't had that vision to do like what Justin Kabelka does and put this gene to this gene and make something that looks amazing that no one ever thought was going to happen and no one's seen it before. So when they stop at your table, they're like, holy shit. People just at this point, it's just the regular run-of-the-mill stuff. So I think people need more secure corners and have a little bit more vision and creativity when it comes to that to set yourself apart. So like if I know your name and you're a ball python breeder and then you've probably come out with something really cool. Because I like but actually.
For the most part, they just kind of all go together because they're producing the same stuff.
Right.
Yeah. He said, "Do you?"
So Marcus Perez asked if I have any corn snake eggs right now. We're waiting. Have a female. She's about to have her pre-lay shed. So not now. Hopefully by a month.
May. Into May?
Yeah.
Okay. How old is this female that you don't know how old she is?
Question mark.
How long have you had her?
I have had her for about 4 years.
Okay. And we bred her with one you've had for 14 years. We put her with a grandpa. And it took us a while to get that going. Do you think the male's age had any effect on that, or
no? It took a while to get going because I didn't brumate them like you're supposed to.
What are you supposed to do?
I didn't because I moved here. I wasn't sure how I was gonna get the male and female down to 55 degrees. So what I did is I slowed down feeding. I dropped off the temp in the cages. So they were staying at room temperature in the winter, which fluctuated probably from 68 to 72, and didn't eat them, or didn't feed them, rather. Didn't eat them either, but I didn't feed them and then checked on them to see if they were maintaining proper, like body weight, stuff like that, because I wasn't sure while I was moving. No, I wasn't sure that if I didn't brumate them, the metabolism was going to keep on going, that they'd get really skinny without me feeding them. They weren't. So I kept them that low for maybe 3 months, jacked it up a little bit, started feeding heavily. So I think the feeding sparked them to get back up. Even though the temperature change was much more slight than usual, it still worked. But it seemed like it took her an extra shed for some reason. It doesn't make any sense. But I wasn't planning for it to make sense because I didn't think it was going to work.
But it did somehow.
But it did because they're corn snakes and they're probably going to breed and she'll probably double clutch. But he's an old man, so I'm not sure how fertile they're going to be. But she's definitely very pregnant and definitely very much has eggs.
So age does have a factor in some of it.
Just like everything else living, once you get older, you don't get.
But males, it seems like they
definitely go longer.
They can continuously do it.
Yeah, human males are very impressive.
Can go on. Females obviously different.
Right.
But so is that true in snakes that males can go on for a while?
Seems to be true. As far as a lot bigger of a toll on a female than it is for a male.
Yeah.
He's just depositing and moving on with his life. The female has to do all the hard work, especially for a cold-blooded animal that, processes in their body, being cold-blooded.
Mm-hmm.
Like once you start developing eggs, I mean, you're not passing food through there or anything like that. You're using all your energy to calcify these eggs and pretty much incubate them in your body until they grow big enough to lay them.
So if you're old, that's hard work.
Right.
Interesting. Well, I hate to cut this short, but I have homework to do.
Right. So, we didn't cut this short. This has been like 2 hours.
Well, to stop it. Period.
Well, thank you guys for listening. Thank you. Marcus Perez is still there, and then there's someone else.
Probably Ian Phelan.
Thank you guys for listening. We will catch you next week. Hopefully, we will have figured out at least something as far as audio goes, and maybe we'll be here at 5 o'clock. Maybe we won't.
Maybe we try.
See you guys later.